You know, here they are bringing families together.
Yeah.
They are molding a culture, and you know, I just want to understand, you know, when you guys sit down and work on these things, what are some of the elements that you look into? I know there's one that you said you have to understand your character. This coming from a performer's point of view, but you know, from the writing to the story, what goes into mind to be able to write something that is love and relationship related to address an issue that is affecting society, like say for example GBV?
Well, first of all, one of the things that's very crucial when you're writing a story, you have to be able to know who your audience is. Who are you trying to talk to?
Right.
Who's the story for? Who's the story dedicated to? And then when you understand that, who you want to talk to, then you can create this world of story and create the characters so that you can make these characters that are relative to that world of story and relative to people who may have experienced the situation that you're trying to create. It's essentially about, like I said, trying to replicate life. So everybody in this situation must be able to see someone who, they must be able to see themselves in one character, or maybe every single character, because people are not just black and white. There's a gray area with everybody, just like there's a gray area with characters. So it's essentially about making sure that you're able to pinpoint the different types of people and the journeys that they may go through, and how to essentially curate that to a certain medium, to cinema, to theater, and how we're going to replicate that. And then looking at the journey that they go through in the different acts, in Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And if it's linear enough or structured in a way that is cohesive and could essentially speak back to this audience that you want to communicate with, so that they're satisfied with the end product.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that, you know, and it sort of kind of takes me back now to, you know, when you're talking of how you get to learn your character, like, okay, so you've come to acting class, there's a reason why you're here and the like. And, you know, I think it could also be an added value that I'm going to join theater, in that I want to address the social ill that is actually happening within my society. So I just want to act it out for an audience, and hopefully get somebody to sort of drill that message out and sort of solve a problem, and it's great, you know, that we've got that tool that is theater that can actually address that. I want us to talk about bridging societal divides caused by relationship struggles through theater.
Okay. Well, that one I feel like is a little bit more complex because, excuse me, I feel like now you have to decipher what type of relationship you're trying to talk about. There's multiple different types of relationships.
You can just tap into any, just go ahead, feel free.
We can discuss, let's say, I think initially I want to first discuss a binary between love versus attachment. Whether it's
let's break that up.
Let's talk about whether or not a relationship is actually founded in love, or whether or not it's founded in attachment, or maybe it's a little bit of both, because sometimes we're attached to people we love, or maybe we think it's love but it's actually just attachment. So then you talk about the different types of relationship, if they're equal, if it's hierarchical. You know, do we want someone to love us because we want to be loved, or do we want someone to love us because we love them back? Are we accepting this and calling it love, or are we lowering our standards? So it's those different types of questions that you ask yourself, and now when you put that in the medium of theater, it's now curated. When it comes to performing it or creating the narrative, it's now done in different types of way for the performer. You know, for me, what I understand is, like, when someone's stressed out, for example, psychology states that stress can manifest itself in a physical way. So maybe you could use that to interpret what the character's going through physically. Does that change their physicality? Does that change how they move on stage? Does that change how they speak? How much they project? How quietly they talk? You know, so you use these different elements of life, of psychology, of humanity, and you transfer that into your performance on stage.
I like that. It actually also now helps me ask you now this question, which I think I sort of kind of know the answer, but I just want to hear from you. Theater being used as a tool for relationship resolution.
You know, like I said, theater, real life, almost you know, in the same veil, you know, or like they're parallel to each other.
Right.
I want to say. So I think when someone sees a character going through something that is similar to or exactly what they're going through, it kind of holds up a mirror to them. It holds up a mirror to society. And if the person is courageous enough or confident enough, they can maybe see themselves taking the steps to see if the situation that they're in, if they're comfortable with it or if they've just accustomed to it.
That's fine. This is from the audience point of view. Now I'm talking about conflict resolution, relationship resolution in this way that, right, in real life, I am going through a relationship problem. But I am also into theater. And then I decide that I'm going to go into theater and act like that person to try and solve that. Is that something that can happen? Can that be used as a tool? That's what I was asking.
100%.
Yes, yes.
100%, because you know, as a performer, it gets to be really scary when your character's going through something really challenging. Because now it's up to you to portray that. You know, when you're in love, you have to portray a sort of vulnerability. There's already vulnerability in performing because you're supposed to rely on your co-actors and you trust that they can help you get the story along.
Right.
And when your character is in pain, when your character is going through heartbreak, it's up to you to portray that. How do you allow yourself to be vulnerable in front of many people watching you, to cry in front of people in front of you, to show that you're grieving something, you're mourning something? That's a very difficult thing to do. It's a very challenging thing, but it can also be very therapeutic. It can be cathartic. You can portray a character and maybe they're going through something that you're going through as well.
Exactly,
so
yes.
It gets to be a release for you to really go through the motions.
Now. Right,
and as a character, you're supposed to, as an actor, I apologize, you're supposed to learn who your character is. The writers, they just give you a name. They give you maybe a backstory, but it's up to you to develop
to bring that character to life, right?
Person, absolutely. And so maybe you find out that you and the character have things in common because you have to remember that this is a separate person. So maybe they become a friend to you. And how do you help your friend go through what they're going through? And how do you help yourself go through what you're going through?
As a last question to end our very interesting conversation, as a theatre group, I just want to go back to you know, dramatic scholars. As a theatre group, how do you stay relevant and ensure that theatre addresses social ills? How much are you guys putting in to address? I mean, we've got this cancer that is affecting the country as a whole called gender-based violence.
Yes.
And you know, it's up to us as a collective to you know, try and address this and sort of kind of get rid of it. And majority of this GBV related things have the word LOVE somewhat in amidst all of that. And you know, days like Valentine's, you know, some decry their lost ones because of GBV related stuff. As theatre, you know, how are you guys remaining relevant to be able to address such ills?
Right now, like I said, Dramatic Scholars is focused on making African history relevant again, making it something to be remembered.
Right.
And we do that because we feel like we're forgetting who we are.
Right.
We feel like we are a lot more invested or a lot more knowledgeable in Western history, in history that doesn't necessarily pertain to ours. So we want to make sure that our history is remembered as well, Botswana history is remembered. But we are very invested in showcasing what's going on in our country because we care so much about this country. We love our country. We're very patriotic at Dramatic Scholars. And essentially, we just want to ensure that people are proud of who they are, and to be proud of who you are is to be proud of who we were as a nation.
Oh yes, of course, yeah.
So we just want to be mouthpieces for the people who came before us, for us to be able to do what we do today, to be as proud as we are today, and so that the leaders of tomorrow also have an understanding of who they are. Because the children of today, they don't know about what happened in the past, and so we're trying to do that for them.
Yeah, and you know, ultimately, it's very important that you're speaking of the past because, you know, culture has been evolving over the years, and ultimately, if we could try to tweak it a little bit and create a sort of new culture based on the lessons learned from the previous culture, perhaps the social ills shall be done away with. Kutlwano, thank you so much for popping by to have a chat with us.
Thank you so much.
So I was just watching you as you're explaining, and you tend to speak with your hands, so I sort of do, and people say these are theatrical hand gestures, so I guess I can say I'm also dramatic. right, but thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
And have yourself a good day.
You as well.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Right, and that's how we come to the end of that conversation. I was speaking with Kutlwano Reetsang from Dramatic Scholars, and we're just basically talking about theatre and how, theatre and understanding love and relationships, as well as how it can be used as a tool to address certain social ills that which continue to attack our society and eradicate or reduce the population that is Botswana, and we're already underpopulated. And she just say, there is a way, and together we shall be able to overcome. Happy Valentine's Day. This is BTV News. You're on Botswana Connects. Good morning.
In order to rebuild this economy, we will implement the required changes through 4 interlinked strategic phases. These 4 phases are: first, we must be halting the financial hemorrhaging in government. And second, we must be stabilizing